All right, I'm back, and this time this one might be a bit short, but one of the things today is what, Wednesday? Yeah. The thing that is coming up for me today is this, like, the causation, correlation, and what's normative and not. And maybe someone has an answer out there and I'm just not getting it, or maybe someone has a better way of saying this. And so think about the scenario where, let's use return to office for an example. um, let's say we're in San Francisco, and you work at a startup and they say, hey, you have to come back to the office. Now there's naturally going to be a group of people that they like being in the office. That's just their natural dispensation, or it's like, hey, I enjoy being in the office. I would have come regardless of I had the option to work from home or not, right? And so first of all, that's their natural way of showing up. Their natural way of showing up is like they would have been in the office regardless. Okay. And so you take those people and then you put them at a company that says, hey, we're going to go back to the office. And you have a bunch of those people that show up. And so when you then say, hey, we're going to create this rule that you have to come back to the office, when those people show up, it's not necessarily that they love the office, or it's not necessarily they love the team. It's just that they would have just naturally been there anyway. And then there's some other people who would have been successful, right? So they're coming to the office and they would have been successful regardless, whether they were staying at home or traveling or, coming into the office, being a part of the team. And so you start to think about that, where it's like, are they successful because they came into the office? Or are they successful in spite of them coming into the office? Or would they have been successful in spite of coming to the office? And this opens up like an entire world of things, because it's not just, I was using remote work and return to office as an example here. An example that I talk about a lot with people in my life is like, if you grew up Christian, and like for me, I just love to read, right? I just love to read, and I don't know if I was a bad kid or what, but I just love to read. And so if I love to read, like, the Bible is a fascinating book for me because I read it from more of a literature point of view. A lot of people saw that and thought, oh, he's like a dedicated person to this, when it was just like, no, I just naturally like to read. And like, I don't struggle with like getting up in the morning reading 5 to 10 pages. Other people, reading might not be their thing, and the Bible bores them. And so to look at me, who just love to read, and say like, hi, I was more sanctified than the person who was struggling to wake up and read, it's just like completely different things. Like reading, like that probably was not their form of study. And it took, quote unquote, more faith for them to get up in the morning and study than it did for me, because it was just the thing that I like to do, and it didn't matter the context. And so I guess the thing that I'm exploring in this place is, there are often times we are put in buckets, or we put people in buckets of what's the norm. And we don't realize that when we create laws, or when we create rules, we have to understand like, who would have already fallen in that bucket. Like, there's just a group of people who would already do the things that like we're creating the laws to do, or creating the rules to do. And so most of the time it doesn't appeal to them. I'm not sure if I'm quite explaining this right, but it is like, the whole idea is, how can we spark a conversation around this? How can we spark a conversation around the idea of what's causation and what's correlation, and how do we over-index in one hand versus the other? And I imagine there's so many different areas of our lives when we are, like I like to say, there's some people that also they would go out and they like to talk to people, right? And just like, that's just their thing. It doesn't mean that like you should say, hey, that's your personality, and continually put them in a box. I think the whole idea is, there's a lot of people and there's a lot of scenarios that are very nuanced that we don't take into consideration. And we should always think about like, what is the unintended consequences of some of the things that we do. My hunch is there's someone out there who have said this much better than I have, But it is a conversation I'm starting to think about. Like, is there a term for these type of things, where we're saying, hey, a rule was created for something, but there are some other people would have just been in there anyways. Like, that idea of me just loving to read, and I would have studied the Bible regardless if I was like a Christian or not. Like, it was just something I'm genuinely curious about. What is the term for people like me, and other people viewing me as more sanctified than the other person because this came easier for me. Like, this thing was just easier for me. It fits with my personality. It's not making me any less or more than the other person. Just like, this is just the way, that I do things. As I shared that, the thing that's coming up for me is that, like, it's probably the reason why people feel so much tension. Because if we're using the example of Christianity, and you're like, hey, I've been told that, I should read my Bible, I should pray, but those things I don't naturally enjoy. There are a group of people that naturally enjoy that. Interesting. Yeah, I'm actually coming some insights on my own. So there's a natural group of people there's some people that naturally enjoy that, right? So if I'm a person that naturally enjoys reading and naturally enjoys quiet time, or let's use the example, if I love coming into the office and I've seen success in my life, I want that to be the norm for everyone. And what we realize is a lot of the people that creates the rule, they're successful in a particular way, and it's hard for them to say, hey, other people can be successful in different areas. Could we create a space where people are successful the way that they want to be, and for me not to put my norms on someone else, right? So if I'm very successful coming into the office and I enjoy that energy off of people and I enjoy that structure, how is that my right to say everyone should be like me? So maybe that's a deeper conversation, that the people who are generally making the laws are saying, here's how I enjoy things, here's how I enjoy doing things, and you should do it this way too. You should enjoy it. You should get success from this way too. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I felt like I was able to, even talking this out, I was able to get some clarity from this. All right, see y'all.